What up everybody, Ian here. So the Black Shark 4. This is the entry or budget gaming mobile device from Xiaomi and probably the best gaming phone at an also affordable price. Today we will be giving you a tour on the Black Shark 4 UI, specifically the Shark Space, and give you all of its features and functionalities. We will be running benchmarks as well and test if the performance settings available on Shark Space makes a difference in video games. Let's start with how to open the Shark Space app. You can either tap the Shark Space icon or you can just press both of your trigger buttons. To close it, you will need to touch and hold the power button here, and yes, there's no other way to close it. Scroll up from the bottom or swipe from the right side. Those will not work here. So what is Shark Space? It is basically a gaming hub UI, quite similar to what you would see on PlayStation 4 consoles, Nintendo Switch. Steam even have its own UI overlay available on PC. This will give you that video game console feel, plus accessing your game library will be a lot more intuitive. Plus, it's not just a game launcher, but it also does a lot of things in the background that will optimize your gaming experience. So as you open it, you'll see the Wi-Fi signal strength, the time and battery percentage. You also have the settings button here, the observer mode toggle, as well as the view option. You can change how it displays your video games. To launch a game, you need to tap it twice. Tapping it the first time will give you the option to further tweak some settings which may improve the performance, but we'll discuss those later. So games needed to be added here manually for you to see them on the UI, and honestly I find it a bit difficult sometimes to distinguish some games because you really don't have that default icons, but if you have the time, you can easily customize it. This is the place where you can also install Black Shark accessories. Just tap this icon or press the right trigger button to access it. Adding accessories is just a breeze. Like for the left gamepad, just plug it into your phone, switch it on, and hit connect. Voila, you now have a joystick on your Black Shark 4. Also, once you run a game through Game Space, it will do all sort of things in the background that will make your gaming experience better, like clearing your RAM or disabling phone calls, etc. Now let's access the settings page. First, we see the shortcut settings. These are the same settings found on the game assistant, which I will show you later as well. So reject call, this will automatically reject or end phone calls when you're in game. Shield notice, it stops all messaging notifications, but don't worry, you will still receive said messages. Bullet comment notices provides you with a non-intrusive way of providing you with notification. Works on most messaging apps, so it does not support all of the apps, and no options as well to manually add an app, and here are the only ones that are supported. Monitor floating window lets you see actual FPS data on your screen while you're playing. This is useful if you want to monitor your phone's performance, especially on ranked games where FPS is really important. This will also help in tweaking your settings so that you'll arrive at the best setting for whichever game you play to further optimize its FPS. Anti-miss operation will disable touch gestures that may trigger certain actions like minimizing and going to your homepage. Clear memory, as the name says, will clear your RAM from unwanted processes. Manual recording here lets you record a short clip real time in 15, 30, 45, and 60 second durations. Bluetooth self-adaptive stereo. I don't know what this is. If someone knows, please comment it down below. Game voice mono only works on the phone speaker. What it does is it dedicates the right speaker for your teammates' voice chats, and the left speaker will be for the game. It does really elevates the clarity of voice chats if you enable this option. Probably for RPGs and mobile games, it will be really good, but for shooter games, you are sacrificing stereo over voice chat. So brightness locked for games in landscape and portrait mode, so it doesn't automatically adjust, which may be a bit irritating when you're playing. Now, the game assistant. When you swipe from any of the top corners, it will call out the game assistant. Now, this is quite handy in accessing more features while you're in the game. So let's start with the icons here. There's just too many. So the first one is master control. This will enable you to assign whichever specific area of your screen that the trigger buttons will be mapped onto. So it's not just the two trigger buttons, but you can also assign motion sensing feature. So like in Call of Duty, you can assign the reload function by just flipping your phone towards you. That's one less action you need to think of on the battleground. Shark's Arsenal lets you connect your Black Shark accessories. Macro will enable you to record successive key presses. So if you needed to do a combo, a long combo, you can just record it and then press that single button to trigger it. Game config pulls out the game configuration page where you can change performance levels, refresh rate, touch sampling rate, etc. I'll be discussing those in details later as well. Hang up, I don't know what this is, but though if you enable it, it will turn off the display on your screen. So I would guess this will work if you're like screen mirroring it on a bigger display or on a TV and you're using a controller. Clean RAM lets you clear your RAM. No message disables messaging notification. So this is just the same with what's that feature called again? Shield notice. So it just stops the messaging notification from getting into your phone. No in-call does the same thing. It automatically rejects the phone calls in the background. Anti-mistouch will disable gestures that may trigger certain actions like minimizing and going to your homepage. You can also connect or switch Wi-Fi networks while in-game. Crazy. Mobile Line creates a customized crosshair. So even if you're using a sniper rifle, you'll still be able to see a crosshair. There's also a mobile line, but can't seem to figure out its function. Then Shark Space lets you go back to the Shark Space menu. Now if you tap on this area here, it will show you additional features. So sim function, not really sure what it does. So Shark Time will enable you to record videos while you're playing. Monitor enables the feature where it shows the FPS while you're playing. Bullet screen, the same thing. So basically these are just the same setting found on the settings page on Shark Space. This one, settings call out the settings page, so quite similar with what you get from Shark Space. Game Monitor gives you more advanced data about network, your processor, your GPU. So this is like the CPU load, memory, battery, and lots of features here to optimize key specific areas. Now let's check Gamer Studio setting. So this first option enables or disables Game Assistant. So with this feature, you can change settings on the fly while you're in game. So there. Call out gestures basically lets you choose how you would activate or trigger the game assistant. Bullet comment notification will enable you to get notifications while you're in game. So you can customize the bubble style, font, opacity, speed, how many lines, etc. There are additional settings as well, as you can see here, to further customize said notifications. Basic settings, start methods, just basically enables or disables launching shark space through the trigger buttons. Entry animations, if you really want to go to your game real fast, you can just disable the startup animation by using this option. Wallpaper, well, yeah, it is. You can change the UI's wallpaper. There are 2 dynamic wallpapers available that gives you that cool animation. You can also add literally any photos on your gallery as your background. And if you have lots of time to read the privacy and agreement terms, feel free, just go to this page. All right, the fun part. Let's go to the main menu and tap a game. So this will highlight and give you more options, as you can see here. 3 dots just showed up. If you tap that, you'll get 2 more options and some playtime data. So 2 options, game configuration and change cover. Changing the cover will let you further customize the game's icon. Basically, you can set any photo you want. Now, game configuration. So performance, we have 3 levels here: balance, solar core, and ludicrous. Those 3 doesn't really have anything common or in relation, but yeah, whatever. So this will dictate your phone's SoC with how much resources it will use. So the higher the level, the higher the performance, and the higher the battery consumption and temps as well. I actually made some tests here to check if it really works. Alrighty, so we have the results here for the benchmark scores with, a couple of games. And before we start, let me just talk about our videos, background music. This has been, composed by a good friend of ours, Archie Bonifacio. I'm actually going to link his Facebook profile and YouTube channel on the description box below, so check it out. He got some awesome killer tracks, that you might like. Anyways, what we have here in front of you is the performance benchmark with Genshin Impact. This is set to the highest setting at 60 frames per second. So what we're doing here is we're checking if changing the game configuration from balance, solar core, or ludicrous. Is that like a makeup word or something? So we're checking if those settings would have any impact on the game. Apparently it does. So as you can see here, the lowest setting is balanced. The frames per second is at 44. The next level is solar core at 48, and the highest setting, ludicrous, at 54 frames per second. 1% low is also proportional to whichever setting you choose, as well as the temperature. So an increase in performance will always yield an increase in CPU temperature as well as battery consumption. The phone will get really hot if you set it to ludicrous. I'm rating around 47.7 degrees centigrade here, and it is quite hot to the touch, if you're gonna ask me. Yeah, so I used this Black Shark cooler. I believe this is like the first model. So let's see if it can squeeze more performance out of this phone. Because with the temperature we're getting, it's definitely thermal throttling one way or another. And voila, this is the result. So on the balance mode, from 44 FPS, we're now getting 48. And a big leap on the 1% low from 25 to 33. Temperatures are significantly low as well. On Solar Core, this is actually the default setting on Shark Space. So from 48, now we're getting 51 FPS. 1% low is slightly higher as well. Temperature is lower at about 7 degrees centigrade. On the ludicrous mode, from 54 frames per second, now we're getting almost 57. 1% low is higher as well by about 5 FPS, and temperature is down by 6 degrees. What we can say here is, yeah, if your phone is thermal throttling, if it's getting really hot, yeah, you can literally squeeze more performance by purchasing this cooler accessories. It is really effective at decreasing your phone's temperature, plus adding some more frames per second on your games. Unfortunately, that cooler wouldn't really help with the actual temperature of the CPU because it doesn't really have a direct contact on the chip. Here, as you can see, from balance, Solar Core to ludicrous, temperature reading is like 68, 71, and on ludicrous, it's a crazy 90 degrees centigrade at its maximum temperature. Alright, now on our next game, Call of Duty Mobile. On this game, I didn't really use the cooler anymore because I'm getting roughly the same cores with any of the graphic options, either balance, Solar Core, or ludicrous. It's pretty maxed out, and the temperatures are quite close as well. Even on the ultra frame rate where it can reach up to 90 FPS, as you can see here on the 3 modes, the scores are really close. So what I can say is, 99%, your default setting on your phone will, most probably work. However, if it's, Genshin Impact, then that's where you can take advantage of the Shark Space advanced tweaking features. But not just Genshin Impact, most likely new video games will be released on mobile that will or may require more hardware from your mobile devices. So this would be future proofing. Next is display. So we see refresh rate, color, graphic enhancement, and hunting mode. So refresh rate setting will let you manually set the display to whichever refresh rate you choose. I know this is 144 Hz, but the system will not allow you to set it to 144 because it may cause some conflict on the game. If you feel that your game supports it, then yeah, you have no choice but to select intelligent mode. The other options works though. 120 Hz works perfectly with some games that I have tested, like 1945 Air Force, but some AAA games, most of them are locked at 60 Hz or 60 frames per second. Color enhancements let you adjust and improve the display to look exactly what you want. So yeah, you can set your preferred color setting like bright, vivid, or you can further tune it by changing the hue, saturation, brightness, and contrast level to suit your needs. Graphic enhancements. Now here you can adjust graphic quality like anti-aliasing, anisotropy, and texture filtering. I really don't know how to pronounce that. These settings are normally found on PC games, so yeah, Black Shark is really serious about their gaming line here. Anti-aliasing, well, the higher the level, the more it will eliminate the jagged lines on your graphics. Anisotropic and texture filtering enhances the image quality of textures on surfaces. Basically, the higher you set these settings, the better the image quality will be at the cost of performance. Hunting mode will invert the colors, making or spotting enemies a tad easier. On my test, I find it, no. Gave me a headache. With spotting enemies, I would say it's just the same with, the stock settings. ROG phones also have a similar feature like this. Actually, on Call of Duty Warzone on PC, there is a pro tip similar to this, but not inverting the colors. It's more complicated than that. I find that more effective, but maybe there's someone out there who's looking for this feature. Touch is the next category. Touch sensitivity has a lot of settings here. The 720Hz touch sampling rate is not enabled by default. You will need to enable it here on every game that you want to use it. So I would say outside your games, just using basically the stock sampling rate, which we actually don't know. Edge anti-mistouch reduces misoperations when your hand touches the screen by accident. Audio, we have two main options here for game sound, game DTS, and low latency. So low latencies does improve the latency of audio from Bluetooth earphones. I've tested this with my Galaxy Buds Pro and it does reduces the latency. Oh my gosh, I just repeated myself. But there is still a delay, so I would say better purchase, if you wanted to use wireless, better purchase a headset that is designed to have a really low latency. In fact, there's a Black Shark accessory, but I haven't tested it yet, so I really can't comment on it. Game DTS gives you two settings, either Super Surround, useful if you want to easily locate enemies on shooter games, or Game Music, which is more applicable for mobile games and RPG games. Voice Changer will let you change your voice into these three options. Lolly, what? Doineering lady, and uncle. Yeah, your teammates might actually be surprised once they hear your, voice here. Earphone EQ lets you tweak the audio even further, maybe elevate the high so you can hear footsteps a lot easier. Lastly, microphone exclusive mode. It will further avoid leaking privacy when making calls while gaming. So network, the last one, various settings here, but at the end of the day, the purpose is to make your connection better. Others can't find anything here. I've tried all the games in my library and it doesn't give me any options or whatever. I guess we're done. Yeah, so the Shark Space is definitely a legit utility that will help you in tweaking your phone, to further cater whichever, setting or need you may have. And I'm still recommending this phone. I don't think any gaming phone can beat this at, its price point. It's definitely a sure winner. So yeah, if you like the content you're seeing here, give us a sub and a like, notification bell as well if you wanted to be notified with our new uploads. And yeah, again, this is Ian, and that's the way the cookie crumble, and that's the way. My daughter loves that. Anyways, ciao.